Commander Vexillar stood at the observation deck of the Harmonious Dawn, watching the stars drift past. His 4 arms crossed in a pattern that showed deep thought. He had seen 17 battles across the galaxy. He had fought beside warriors from dozens of species. He thought he knew everything about war. The Kellian commander turned when he heard footsteps behind him. His compound eyes adjusted to see Admiral Threnok, a massive corvan with scales that shimmered blue under the ship lights. "Commander, we have new orders," the Admiral said. His voice was deep and rumbling. "The Dracul swarm is moving faster than we expected. They will reach Arcturus 7 in 3 days. Vexillar felt his chest plates tighten. The Dracul were not like other enemies. They did not negotiate. They did not retreat. They consumed everything in their path. Entire colonies had gone silent when the swarm arrived. "What forces do we have?" Vexillar asked. "Your battalion will defend the mining colony," Threnok replied. "You will have Palaxian sharpshooters, Corvan heavy units, and—" He paused. "A human contingent." "Humans?" Vexillar tilted his head. He had heard of them. Earth had joined the Galactic Coalition only 5 years ago. They were young, primitive compared to species who had traveled the stars for thousands of years. "Are you certain they are ready for the Dracul?" The Admiral's expression was hard to read. "The Coalition Council insists. The humans want to prove themselves. You will have 50 of them." Vexillar said nothing, but his mandibles clicked softly. It was a sign of doubt among his people. 2 hours later, Vexillar stood in the briefing room. His officers gathered around the holographic display. The image showed Arcturus 7, a brown planet with deep canyons. The mining colony sat in the largest valley system. The door opened. 2 humans walked in. The male was tall with dark hair and brown skin. He wore a green uniform with simple armor plates. "Lieutenant Kyle Martinez, sir," he said, giving a salute. His voice was steady and calm. The female was shorter, with light skin and blonde hair pulled back tight. "Sergeant Amy Crawford," she said. Her blue eyes were sharp and alert. Vexillar studied them. They looked fragile. Their skin had no natural armor. No scales, no exoskeleton, no hardened plates. Just soft flesh. They carried weapons that seemed basic compared to Kellian plasma rifles. "Welcome to the battalion," Vexillar said. He gestured to the hologram. "We will establish defensive positions here, here, and here. The Dracul travel in waves. They overwhelm through numbers. Our strategy is to hold choke points and fall back when necessary." Kyle stepped closer to the display. "What are the evacuation protocols for the colonists?" "There are no colonists," one of the Palaxian officers said. Her voice was soft and musical. "They evacuated yesterday. We only defend the mining equipment. It is valuable." Amy made a small sound. Not quite a laugh, but close. "We're risking lives for mining equipment?" "The resources are crucial for the war effort," Vexillar explained. He felt a small flash of irritation. Did humans not understand military priorities? "If the Dracul claim this planet, they will have fuel for their expansion." "Understood, sir," Kyle said. But something in his tone made Vexillar pause. It was not disagreement exactly. It was something else. The briefing continued. Vexillar explained the Dracul tactics. They moved like water, flowing around obstacles. They used acid sprays and razor-sharp claws. Their exoskeletons could withstand small arms fire. They felt no pain and showed no fear. "How do we kill them?" Amy asked. "Sustained fire to the head or thorax," Vexillar said. "Explosive charges work well if you can place them. But you must understand, Sergeant, the Dracul do not stop. Even wounded, they continue attacking. You must destroy them completely." Amy nodded slowly. "Got it." After the briefing ended, most officers left. Kyle remained behind. He studied the holographic display, turning it with his hand to see different angles. Lieutenant? Vexillar approached him. Just memorizing the terrain, sir, Kyle said. My soldiers will want to know every detail. You have fought before? Vexillar asked. It seemed polite to inquire. Yes, sir. Afghanistan, the Mars Rebellion, and the Proxima Station incident. These names meant nothing to Vexillar. Earth's conflicts were not in the Coalition database yet. Were they difficult battles? Kyle looked at him. His brown eyes were calm. Every battle is difficult, sir, but we're still here. Something about the way he said it made Vexillar uncomfortable. It was not bravado, it was simple fact. Over the next 2 days, Vexillar watched the humans prepare. They checked their weapons with careful attention. They talked quietly among themselves. Sometimes they laughed. This puzzled Vexillar. Did they not understand what was coming? He asked Amy about it when he found her helping human soldiers dig defensive positions. Why do your people seem so relaxed? He asked. Amy wiped sweat from her forehead. The humans sweated constantly, Vexillar noticed. Their cooling system seemed inefficient. We're not relaxed, sir, she said. We're just dealing with it our way. And what way is that? She smiled. It was a strange expression, showing teeth. We cope, we joke, we stay human. She picked up her shovel again. It's better than thinking too much about what might happen. Vexillar left her to work. He did not understand, but perhaps understanding was not necessary. Soon the Dracul would arrive. Then he would see what humans were capable of. On the 3rd day, the sensors screamed warnings. The swarm had arrived. Vexillar stood on the canyon rim, watching the sky darken. Ships dropped from orbit like seeds falling from a tree. Thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands. His communicator crackled. Commander, the numbers are wrong, his intelligence officer said. Her voice shook. This is 3 times larger than predicted. Vexillar felt cold certainty settle over him. They might all die here. He looked to his left where Kyle stood with the human soldiers. They were checking their weapons one last time. Some were quiet. Some were singing something in their language. Kyle noticed Vexillar watching and raised one hand in acknowledgement. The Dracul ships began landing. The ground shook. Soon, Vexillar thought, soon we will see what these humans are made of. The Dracul poured from their landing craft like black water. Their chittering filled the air, a sound that made Vexillar's antenna flatten against his head. He had heard it before. It was the sound of hunger. All units, hold positions, Vexillar ordered through the command channel. His voice stayed calm through years of practice. Fire on my mark. The canyon below them filled with Dracul. They climbed over each other, a mass of claws and teeth and armor. There were so many. The sensors had been very wrong. Mark, Vexillar said. Plasma fire lit up the canyon. The Corvin heavy weapons thundered. Palaxian sharpshooters picked off targets with perfect accuracy. The Dracul fell, but more came, always more. Vexillar checked his tactical display. The main force was holding, but the eastern flank showed problems. Too many Dracul were pushing through the narrow pass. The Palaxian unit there was taking heavy casualties. Eastern flank, fall back to secondary positions, Vexillar ordered. It was standard tactics. You did not fight when the odds were impossible. You retreated, regrouped, and held better ground. Sir, the humans are at the eastern flank, his communications officer reminded him. Then they will fall back with the others, Vexillar said. He switched channels. Lieutenant Martinez, execute tactical retreat. Fall back 200 meters. There was a pause. Then Kyle's voice came back. Negative, Commander. We'll hold here. Vexillar felt a flash of anger. Lieutenant, that is an order. You are outnumbered 4-1. Copy that, sir, Kyle said. His voice was still calm. Respectfully, we're staying. You might want to pull your people back a bit, though. Things are about to get loud. Before Vexillar could respond, he heard it. The humans were singing. It was not a marching song or a battle hymn. It was something old and angry, full of words he did not understand. But the tone was clear. It was a challenge. Vexlar activated his long-range visual sensors and focused on the eastern flank. What he saw made no sense. The humans were not falling back. They were advancing. 50 humans walked forward into a mass of hundreds of Dracul. They moved in a line, firing as they went. But it was not the firing that shocked Vexlar. It was their faces. They were not afraid. They were angry. A Dracul leaped at one human. The soldier, a male with red hair, did not dodge. He caught the creature, let it claw his chest armor, and then shoved his rifle under its chin and fired. Green blood sprayed. The human pushed the body away and kept walking. "What are they doing?" the Palaxian officer whispered. She sounded horrified. Vexlar did not answer. He could not answer. He was watching Amy Crawford. A Dracul had gotten past her rifle. Its claw pierced her shoulder, went completely through. Vexlar saw the blood. He saw her face twist in pain. Then Amy smiled. She dropped her rifle, pulled a small device from her belt, and shoved it into the Dracul's mouth. She pushed herself backward, ripping free of the claw. The explosion was small but fierce. The Dracul's head vanished. Amy fell to one knee, blood pouring from her shoulder. Another human, a young male, tried to pull her back. Amy pushed him away. She picked up her rifle with her good arm and kept firing. "They are insane," the Corvin heavy weapons officer said. His voice shook. "They will die." But they did not die. The humans pushed forward another 10 meters, then 20. The Dracul, creatures that knew no fear, began to hesitate. Some tried to move around the human line instead of through it. Kyle's voice came over the command channel. "Eastern flank is secure, Commander. Could use some medical, though." Vexlar stared at his display. The eastern flank showed green, secure. 50 humans had held against hundreds of Dracul. More than held. They had pushed them back. "Medical teams to eastern flank," Vexlar ordered. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. "All units, maintain positions." The battle lasted another 3 hours. The Dracul finally retreated when their numbers fell below critical mass. They left thousands of bodies in the canyon. The coalition forces had casualties too, but they had won. Vexlar found Kyle in the medical bay after the battle. The lieutenant sat on a bed drinking something hot from a metal cup. His armor was scorched and dented. There was blood on it, probably his own. "You disobeyed my order," Vexlar said. Kyle looked up. "Yes, sir, I did." "Why?" Kyle took another drink. "Because the Palaxians couldn't fall back fast enough. The Dracul would have caught them. Someone had to hold the line. You risked your entire unit." "We're Marines, sir," Kyle said simply. "It's what we do." Vexlar's mandibles clicked rapidly. "I do not understand. Your species is soft. You have no natural armor. You bleed easily. Yet you fought like—" He searched for the word. "Like demons." Kyle smiled a little. "We're human. We're stubborn like that." Across the medical bay, Vexlar could see Amy. A doctor was working on her shoulder. She was laughing at something another human soldier said, laughing with a hole through her shoulder. "How is she not in shock?" Vexlar asked. "Oh, she probably is," Kyle said. "Humans can function through a lot of damage, adrenaline, endorphins, other stuff. Our bodies keep us fighting even when we should stop. That is not normal." "No," Kyle agreed. "But it's human." Vexlar left the medical bay feeling strange. He had commanded battles for 15 years. He thought he understood warriors, but the humans confused him. They should have been afraid. They should have died. Instead, they sang and joked and advanced into certain death. That night, Vexlar reviewed the battle recordings. He watched the humans fight again and again. He noticed something he had missed during the battle. When humans got hurt, they did not slow down. They became more aggressive, more dangerous. One recording showed a human male taking a Dracul claw across his leg. The bone must have broken, but the human dropped to his good knee and kept firing. When his rifle ran empty, he pulled a knife and stabbed the nearest Dracul in its eye cluster. Vexillar turned off the recording. For the first time in his military career, he felt something new. He felt afraid of his own allies. What kind of species fights harder when wounded? What kind of creature does not know when to stop? The answer came to him slowly, like cold water. Humans. Vexillar returned to the medical bay the next morning. The smell of antiseptic and healing compounds filled the air. Most of the wounded were resting now, but not the humans. A human male with dark skin was doing exercises with one arm. His other arm was wrapped in bandages and held in a support device. He moved the good arm up and down, counting quietly to himself. "Should you be doing that?" Vexillar asked. The human looked at him and grinned. "Gotta keep moving, sir. Otherwise you get stiff." Vexillar found the medical officer, a Palaxian female named Sendra. She was reviewing data on a holographic display. Her face showed concern. "Commander," she greeted him. Her voice was always soft and musical. "What can I do for you?" "I want to understand the humans," Vexillar said. "Their physiology. Why they can fight through injuries that would kill my soldiers." Sendra's expression became troubled. "I have been studying this. It disturbs me." She pulled up a human body scan. "Look at their design. They have redundant systems everywhere. 2 kidneys, 2 lungs, even though one of each would work. Their blood clots quickly. Their pain response has built-in suppression." "Explain," Vexillar said. "When humans are injured, their body releases chemicals. Adrenaline increases strength and speed. Endorphins mask pain. Their heart rate increases, pumping more blood and oxygen to muscles. It is like they have a battle mode." Vexillar stared at the scan. "This is natural, not augmentation?" "Completely natural. Commander, I have treated 17 species. None of them are built like humans. Most species have efficient bodies, just enough. Humans have excess capacity. They are built for damage." Sendra touched the display, showing the human skeletal system. Even their bones are designed to break in specific ways to protect organs. Their body prioritizes survival over everything else. What about their pain tolerance? It is not tolerance. It is suppression. They feel the pain, but their brain does not process it immediately during danger. The pain comes later. Sendra turned off the display. "They are persistence predators, Commander. Did you know that? On Earth, they hunted by following prey for days until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. They are built to keep going no matter what." Vexillar left the medical bay feeling more unsettled than before. He decided to speak directly with the humans. He found Staff Sergeant Brandon Cole sitting outside, cleaning his weapon. Brandon was older than the other humans, with gray in his hair. He had lost 2 fingers in the battle, but he worked with his remaining digits as if nothing had happened. "Sergeant," Vexillar said, "may I ask you questions?" "Sure, sir," Brandon said. He did not stop working on his weapon. "What do you want to know?" "Why did you not retreat yesterday? I gave a clear order." Brandon smiled slightly. "You did, sir. And it was a good tactical order for most species. But humans don't leave people behind. Those Palaxians needed time to fall back. We bought them that time. At great risk to yourselves." "Yeah." Brandon held up his hand with the missing fingers. "But we all knew what we signed up for." "I do not understand your species," Vexillar admitted. "You seem kind. You laugh and joke. But in battle you are terrifying." Brandon stopped working and looked at Vexillar directly. "Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years, Commander. We know every dirty trick, every tactic, every way to hurt and kill. We've had wars that killed millions of our own people." He paused. "But we're trying to be better now, joining the coalition, fighting for something bigger than just ourselves. We're still warriors, though. That doesn't go away." "Were you afraid yesterday?" Vexlar asked. "Terrified," Brandon said immediately. "Every single one of us was scared." This shocked Vexlar. "You did not show it." "We couldn't afford to. Fear is useful. It keeps you sharp, but you can't let it control you." Brandon returned to cleaning his weapon. "We have a saying, courage isn't being unafraid, it's being afraid and doing it anyway." Vexlar left Brandon and walked to the command center. He needed to review intelligence reports. What he found there disturbed him more than anything else. Reports were coming in from other fronts. Wherever humans were deployed, something strange happened. The Dracul, creatures that never retreated, were avoiding human units. They were going around them, seeking easier targets. One report from Commander Cleth, a Corvin leading a battalion 3 systems away, was particularly clear. "The Dracul tested our lines for 6 hours. When they reached the human positions, they stopped advancing. They pulled back and tried a different approach. I have never seen the Dracul retreat from anything. Whatever the humans did to them, it affected the entire swarm's behavior." Vexlar reviewed the data carefully. The numbers told a story. Human casualties were actually lower than most other species in the coalition forces, not because humans were harder to kill, but because the enemy avoided fighting them when possible. The Dracul were learning to fear humans. That night, Vexlar could not rest. He kept seeing Amy smile as she pushed an explosive into the Dracul's mouth. He kept hearing Brandon's words about courage and fear. He kept thinking about what Sendra had said. Persistence predators. He realized something. The galaxy had looked at humans and seen a young species. Primitive. Weak because they had soft skin and no natural weapons. But the galaxy had been wrong. Humans were apex predators. They did not need claws or armor or venom. They had something more dangerous, the ability to choose to fight even when every instinct said to run. They had the ability to endure pain, to push past injury, to keep coming no matter what. And worse, they did it together. They protected each other. They died for each other. That made them stronger than any individual warrior could be. Vexlar finally understood why he felt afraid. It was not because humans were violent. Many species were violent. It was because humans combined violence with choice, with loyalty, with the ability to suffer and continue. That was true terror. Not a mindless swarm like the Dracul, but thinking, feeling beings who chose to walk into death for their brothers and sisters. Tomorrow they would receive new orders. Tomorrow the war would continue. And tomorrow Vexlar would stand beside humans again. He was honored, and he was afraid. The briefing room was packed with officers from every coalition species. Admiral Threnok stood before the holographic display, his scales dark with stress. The image showed a massive station orbiting a dead moon. The Dracul Nexus. "This is their breeding station," the Admiral said. "Intelligence suggests 60% of the swarm is produced here. If we destroy it, we cripple their ability to expand. The war could end." Vexlar studied the display. The Nexus was enormous, covered in organic armor and weapons systems. "What are our chances?" "Unknown," Threnok admitted. "We have never attempted an assault on this scale, but we have no choice. The swarm grows larger every day." Vexlar's battalion was assigned to the ground assault. They would land on the Nexus surface and fight their way to the core. Once there, they would plant explosives and evacuate before detonation. After the briefing, Vexlar met with his human officers. Captain Ryan Hayes was now in command of the human regiment. He was tall and broad, with a scar across his cheek. Lieutenant Megan Foster stood beside him, a female with red hair and green eyes that never stopped moving. "This will be difficult," Vexlar said, showing them the tactical plan. Ryan studied it carefully. That's one way to put it, sir. He pointed at the core. The approach is too narrow. They'll know we're coming. Yes, Vexillar agreed. But there is no other way. Megan spoke up. What if there was? What if we created a diversion? The entire assault is a diversion, Vexillar said. The explosives are small, hidden in our equipment. The Drakkul will think we are only trying to damage the surface. I meant a real diversion, Megan said. She looked at Ryan. They seemed to communicate without words. Something that pulls their forces away from the core entirely. Vexillar waited. My squad could go in first, Megan said. Loud and obvious. Make them think that's the main assault. While they're focused on us, Commander, your main force hits the core. You would not survive, Vexillar said flatly. Probably not, Megan agreed. Her face was calm. But the mission would succeed. Vexillar looked at Ryan. The captain's expression was grim but not surprised. You knew she would suggest this. Yes, sir, and I approve it. We'll need volunteers, though. Nobody gets ordered on a suicide mission. How many volunteers do you expect? Vexillar asked. All of them, Ryan said simply. The assault began at dawn. Dozens of ships descended on the Nexus. The Drakkul defense systems opened fire immediately. 3 coalition ships exploded before they even landed, but the others made it through. Vexillar's boots hit the Nexus surface, and immediately he was fighting. Drakkul warriors emerged from every opening. The surface was not solid, it was organic, made of the same material as Drakkul armor. It felt wrong under his feet. All units advance to primary objectives, Vexillar ordered. The plan was simple. Multiple assault teams would push toward the core from different directions. Somewhere among them, Megan's team would make noise. 10 minutes into the assault, Vexillar heard it. Explosions to the east. Big ones. Then human voices over an open channel, broadcasting to everyone, including the Drakkul. They were singing. No, not singing. Screaming. Battle cries in English and other Earth languages. Sounds of gunfire and grenades. Megan's squad was making themselves impossible to ignore. It worked. The Drakkul forces shifted. Vexillar watched his tactical display as enemy units pulled away from the core and moved toward Megan's position. All teams advance, Vexillar ordered. Double speed! They pushed forward. The resistance was lighter now. Most Drakkul were moving to stop what they thought was the main assault. Vexillar felt sick knowing why. Then disaster struck. A Drakkul warrior emerged from the surface itself, mandibles wide. It sprayed acid across Vexillar's squad. The pain was instant and terrible. Vexillar felt his exoskeleton dissolving. He fell. Hands grabbed him. Human hands. Ryan Hayes pulled Vexillar to cover while firing his rifle with one hand. Something hit Ryan in the side, then his shoulder, then his leg. The captain did not stop. He dragged Vexillar behind a Drakkul structure and started applying emergency sealant to Vexillar's damaged armor. Stay down, sir, Ryan said. His breathing was heavy. There was blood soaking through his uniform in 3 places. You are hit, Vexillar managed to say. The pain was overwhelming. I'm fine, Ryan lied. He finished sealing Vexillar's armor and stood up. Medic! I need a medic here! From his position on the ground, Vexillar watched the battle. The humans fought like they were insane. No, not insane. Like they had already accepted death and decided to make it costly for the enemy. They used tactics Vexillar had never seen. They worked in perfect teams, covering each other, advancing in coordinated rushes. One human ran out of ammunition and switched to a knife against Drakkul armor. But he aimed for the joints, the gaps, the vulnerable spots. He knew exactly where to cut. Core is in sight, a Corvan officer reported. Planting charges now. Over the open channel, Megan's voice came through. She was breathing hard. Core team, status? Charges set, the Corvan replied. Evacuate now. 10 minutes to detonation. Negative, Megan said. We can't fall back. Too many of them. There was an explosion in the background of her transmission. Get your people out, Commander. That's an order from me to you. Vexillar tried to stand. Ryan helped him up. Together they watched the tactical display. Megan's team was surrounded. They were still fighting, but there was no way out. Lieutenant Foster, Vexillar said. His voice was weak. You need to retreat. Megan laughed. It was not a happy sound. Can't do that, sir, but hey, we bought you the time you needed, right? Mission accomplished. All units, evacuate, Vexillar ordered. His voice broke. Get to the ships. They ran. The coalition forces pulled back, fighting every step. Vexillar kept watching the display, watching Megan's signal. It did not move. It stayed in place, still transmitting, still fighting. They reached the ships. Vexillar was pushed into one by Ryan, who collapsed next to him. The ship lifted off. Through the viewport, Vexillar could see the Nexus below. The explosion was silent in the vacuum of space, but he saw it. The core detonated. The chain reaction spread through the entire station. The Nexus broke apart, pieces flying in every direction. Somewhere in that explosion, Megan Foster and her squad died. They never stopped fighting. They never retreated. They chose to stand and give everyone else a chance. Vexillar closed his eyes. He understood now. He understood what terror truly meant. The Harmonious Dawn's main hall was filled with officers from across the fleet. The victory ceremony had been planned for weeks. The destruction of the Nexus had broken the Dracal swarm. Without their breeding station, the enemy could not replace their losses. The war was not over, but everyone knew it would be soon. Vexillar stood at the front in his dress uniform. His armor had been repaired, but he could still feel where the acid had burned through. The pain was a constant reminder. Next to him stood Ryan Hayes, leaning on a cane. The captain had spent 2 weeks in medical recovery. He still was not fully healed, but he refused to miss the ceremony. Admiral Threnok stepped forward. Behind him, a holographic display showed names, hundreds of them, the dead from the Nexus assault. Megan Foster's name was near the top. Below her were the 11 soldiers of her squad, all humans. Today, we honor those who gave everything, the Admiral said. His deep voice carried through the hall. The Battle of the Nexus will be remembered as the turning point in this war. Because of their sacrifice, billions will live. The ceremony continued with speeches from various commanders. Each one spoke of bravery and duty. The words felt hollow to Vexillar. How could words capture what Megan and her squad had done? How could language describe choosing to die so others could complete the mission? Then the Admiral called his name. Commander Vexillar, as the ground assault leader, would you like to say anything? Vexillar had prepared a speech. He had practiced it. But standing there, looking at all those names, the prepared words felt wrong. He walked to the front of the hall and faced the assembled officers. I have served in the coalition military for 15 years, Vexillar began. His voice was steady but quiet. I thought I understood war. I thought I understood warriors. I was wrong. He paused, gathering his thoughts. When humans joined the coalition, many of us were skeptical. We saw a young species. We saw soft skin and simple weapons. We thought they would need our protection. He looked at Ryan. We were very wrong. Some officers shifted uncomfortably. Others leaned forward, interested. I learned what terror meant while standing in battle next to humans, Vexillar continued, not because they are fearless. Not because they are stronger or faster or more advanced than us, but because they choose to fight even when they are afraid. They choose to stand even when retreat would be wiser. They choose to die for each other. The hall was completely silent now. Lieutenant Foster did not have to volunteer for that diversion, Vexillar said. None of her squad had to volunteer, but they all did, not because they wanted to die, Because they wanted us to succeed. They calculated the cost and paid it without hesitation. His voice grew stronger. That is what makes humans terrifying. They are kind by choice. They are gentle by choice. And when they decide to be otherwise, there is nothing in the galaxy that can stop them. Vexlar stepped back. He had nothing else to say. The Admiral nodded and concluded the ceremony. As officers filed out, many approached Vexlar to speak. He answered politely, but his mind was elsewhere. Later, he found Kyle Martinez in one of the observation lounges. The lieutenant stood looking out at the stars, holding a cup of coffee. He had been promoted to captain now, taking over Ryan's old position while the older man recovered. "Captain," Vexlar greeted him. "Commander," Kyle said. He did not turn around. "Hell of a speech." "I meant every word." "I know." Kyle took a drink of his coffee. "We heard about Megan, all of us, every human in the fleet. It hurt." "Yet you continue," Vexlar observed. "Yeah." Kyle finally turned to face him. His eyes were tired. "Because that's what she would want. We honor the dead by living, by finishing what they started." Vexlar moved to stand beside him at the window. "May I ask you something personal?" "Go ahead. Were you afraid? During all those battles, were you truly afraid?" Kyle was quiet for a moment. "Every single time, every battle, every fight, every moment, I was terrified." This shocked Vexlar. "You never showed it. Because showing it doesn't help. Fear is there, Commander. It's always there. But courage isn't the absence of fear." Kyle looked at him. "It's acting despite the fear. That's all courage is. Doing what needs to be done even when you're scared." "Your species is remarkable," Vexlar said softly. "We're just human," Kyle said. "We're not special. We just understand that sometimes you have to stand up, even when everything in you says to run. Sometimes you have to fight, even when you know you might die. Not because you want to, but because it's right." Vexlar thought about this, about Amy pushing explosive charges into a Drachel's mouth while wounded, about Brandon losing fingers and continuing to fight, about Ryan dragging him to safety while bleeding from multiple wounds, about Megan choosing to stay behind so others could complete the mission. "I think I finally understand," Vexlar said. "Humans are not fearless. You are the opposite. You feel fear deeply, but you do not let it control you. That is your strength." "That's one way to put it," Kyle agreed. He raised his coffee cup slightly. "To Megan and her squad, they were good people." "They were heroes," Vexlar corrected. "They were both," Kyle said. The next day, Vexlar submitted his official report to Coalition Command. He wrote about tactics and casualties and strategic outcomes. But he included a personal note at the end. It read, "I have fought beside warriors from 17 species. I have seen bravery in many forms. But I must warn future commanders. Do not underestimate humans. They are kind because they choose to be, not because they are weak. They are gentle because they prefer peace, not because they cannot make war. When humans decide to fight, they commit completely. They will endure pain, survive injuries that should be fatal, and never stop advancing. They are persistent predators who evolved by outlasting everything else on their planet. They brought that mentality to the stars. The Dracul learned to fear them. I learned to respect them. And I learned what true terror means. It is not facing an enemy. It is standing next to someone who will die to protect you, and knowing you could never repay that sacrifice." Later that week, Vexlar found himself at the memorial wall where names were being inscribed. Each name represented someone who died in the war. Human names were being added now. Megan Foster. Brandon Cole had died of his wounds 2 days after the ceremony. Others from dozens of battles. Kyle and Amy were there, looking at the names. Ryan was with them, still using his cane. They were not crying. They were talking quietly, sharing memories. Vexillar approached them. "May I join you?" "Of course, sir," Kyle said. Vexillar placed one of his 4 hands on Kyle's shoulder. He did the same with Amy and Ryan. It was a Kellian gesture of respect and kinship. "I am honored to have stood beside humans in battle." Kyle smiled. It was a sad smile, but genuine. "The honor was ours, Commander." Vexillar looked at the names on the wall, all those humans who had fought and died, all those who chose to stand when they could have run, all those who faced their fear and did what needed to be done anyway. "No," Vexillar said quietly. "The honor and the terror was entirely mine." The humans seemed to understand. They stood together at the memorial wall, 4 warriors from different worlds, bound by blood and battle and mutual respect. The war would continue. More names would be added to the wall, but they would face it together. And Vexillar knew with absolute certainty that there was no one else in the galaxy he would rather have beside him in battle than humans. They were terrifying in their courage, awesome in their determination, and unmatched in their ability to choose sacrifice over survival. He had learned what terror meant, and he would never forget.